Today we are asking a challenging question. Is adultery, always wrong? And this seems like a biblical dilemma that we need to get into. My name is Craig, and this is Morning Star Quest, where we are delving into the questions of the Bible, one question at a time. And I didn't quite get that right, but hey, that's okay. Because as a Christian, I love reading the Bible, yet there are some atheists that have come out and said there are 439 of these contradictions in the Bible, and I'm going through one a week, and now I'm up to number 16. And this is such an important question. Is it wrong to commit adultery? What do you think, Cosmo?
Well, Craig, it's a big question with deep implications. That traditionally, the Bible is clear that adultery is wrong. But when we examine passages like Numbers 31:18, it raises questions about context and interpretation.
All right, well, let's get into this. So we've got two sides of the argument, and you would think there was only one side of the argument. So we've got Exodus 20:14, Deuteronomy 5:18, and Hebrews 13:4. Can you just summarize those? Because I don't know if we need to go into them specifically. We will into the other side, but it is pretty clear from these three, as well as probably the rest of the Bible, that adultery is wrong.
Absolutely, Craig. Those verses all reinforce the view that adultery is wrong. Exodus 20:14 and Deuteronomy 5:18 both clearly state, "You shall not commit adultery," as part of the Ten Commandments. Hebrews 13:4 emphasizes the sanctity of marriage, saying that the marriage bed should be kept pure, for God will judge the adulterer.
Okay.
These passages set a clear... Ready to explore the... Let's dive into the opposing verses.
All right, let's do that. So we've got Numbers 31:18, and we have Hosea 1 verse 2 and Hosea 3 verse 1. Now, with Hosea, can you go through, we've got two verses there. Can you just go through the verses and the context and what's happening in this? Because without going through the context, it's not going to make any sense, is it?
Absolutely. Context is key here. In Hosea 1:2, God instructs the prophet Hosea to marry a promiscuous woman,
Right,
symbolizing Israel's unfaithfulness to God through idolatry. Then in Hosea 3:1, Hosea is told to show love to his wife again despite her adultery, mirroring God's enduring love for Israel. These passages use Hosea's life as an allegory for the relationship between God and his people.
So in this, basically God is saying Israel is prostituting, and he uses that word, and it seems very vulgar, but with other gods. And so in this way, he's trying to say, this is the relationship that I have with you that is mirrored, I guess, or an allegory from Hosea's life. I find it very interesting.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. It's indeed a very vivid allegory.
Oh, sure. Where's the adultery here? Because I find this so interesting.
The adultery in this context is symbolic. Israel's worship of other gods is like...
Wait. It is symbolic,
What's
yes.
on your
but with, is it Gomer? With Isaiah's wife, it is not symbolic. She is in an adulterous situation. So it's very clear that it is happening. It is an allegory. It is trying to say that. But the interesting thing is, I find that where's the adultery here? It's with her, but it's not like God is talking to Hosea and saying, yes, marry her, but she's the one that's committing adultery, not him.
Exactly, Craig. Hosea's wife, Gomer, is literally unfaithful, which serves as a real-life representation of Israel's spiritual adultery against God. God uses Hosea's personal life as a living metaphor to illustrate his relationship with Israel. While Gomer's actions are literal, They symbolize a broader spiritual truth.
But also, I feel like, okay, this is supposed to be the opposite of saying it is okay for adultery. And it's very clear that this is not okay. And because it's not okay, God is using this as an allegory to say to all the Israel people or that, no, this is not right. And this is what you're doing to me. But at the same time, this is not adultery on Hosea's part.
Exactly. It's not condoning adultery. Rather, it's using Gomer's unfaithfulness to highlight Israel's spiritual betrayal. God is making a strong statement against unfaithfulness, both in marriage and in the covenant relationship with Him. Hosea's role is to demonstrate God's enduring love despite Israel's unfaithfulness. So while Hosea's situation involves literal adultery, it's a powerful symbol for a deeper spiritual truth.
So really, and Hosea did not commit adultery.
That's right, Craig. Hosea himself did not commit adultery.
So
He
I feel like
remained faithful
I feel
even
like
in a
this
challenging
one is,
marriage, which underscores the message of steadfast love and faithfulness that God extends to His people. Hosea's experience serves as a profound metaphor rather than an endorsement of unfaithfulness.
all right. So that's very clear that this is busted. This one, Hosea, it's not saying that it's right to commit adultery. It's actually saying it's very wrong, and it's using it as a metaphor. So, okay, so that one is busted. All right, so let's get into Numbers 31:18. Can you give us the context and what does Numbers 31:18 say?
Sure. In Numbers 31:18, the context involves a battle between the Israelites and the Midianites. Moses instructs the Israelite soldiers to kill all the Midianite men and women who had been with a man, but to spare the virgin girls. This directive was part of the larger narrative of warfare and consequences for idolatry and seduction that the Midianites had inflicted on the Israelites. It's a complex and troubling passage, often cited in discussions about biblical ethics.
And I agree with the discussion of biblical ethics, and maybe this is something we'll get into in a different video, but for just this one, I find this one tricky as it is horrible, it is awful, and I will generally have an issue with this passage, but not because of adultery, because if we go down the line of is it adultery, is there any adultery in this whole passage?
In this passage, the primary focus is on warfare and the aftermath, rather than adultery.
But hang on. But there is no adultery here because everybody that is married is killed. So anybody left is not married. I know it's still horrible, and I still have trouble with this verse because of the horrible nature. But it's not adultery.
That's correct. The passage in Numbers 31:18 does not involve adultery. The focus is on the aftermath of battle and the complex and troubling directives given to the Israelite soldiers. It's a challenging passage, but it's not about adultery in the traditional sense.
Well, wait. It's not adultery in the traditional sense, the modern sense, or any sense. It's a completely different question, but it's nothing to do with adultery.
You're absolutely right. In Numbers 31:18, adultery is not part of the narrative at all. The focus is on the aftermath of conflict and the specific instructions given to the...
All right, so this is busted. I'm sorry, but this is busted. None of these are about adultery, and even if it is, it's actually clearly not saying that adultery is okay, even in the small sense. It is saying that it is totally wrong. So these things aren't even contradictory. So there are so many more that if we just investigated, we'll find that it's so much better. And I'm finding this is a great Bible study because I'm learning so much. And if you want to learn so much, click on that video, because there are so many more of these. And every time I found out so much more about God, about people, and not about these contradictions. Go do something awesome for God, and I'll catch you in the next one.